All right, today we're jumping into a really powerful ancient song. It's this incredibly raw, emotional cry about what happens to your faith when the only thing you hear back is silence. You know that feeling, right? When you're holding on to this memory of how things were supposed to be, but your reality just feels like a complete betrayal of that promise. Well, that exact tension is the beating heart of Psalm 44.
So, you might think this song would start with despair, but it's actually the total opposite. It kicks off with this powerful, confident look back at the good old days. I mean, a time of just incredible victories, and knowing, without a doubt, that God was on their side.
It all starts in verses 1 and 2. I want you to picture this. Kids sitting around a campfire, just mesmerized, listening to their grandparents tell these epic stories. And the stories are about God's hand, like a literal giant hand just sweeping other nations off the map to plant their people in the land. This isn't just history for them, it's their origin story. Then verse 3 comes in and makes something crystal clear. Imagine there's soldiers on the battlefield, and their swords just shatter against this invisible force field. The whole point of the story is, hey, we didn't win because we were better fighters? Nope. They won because this brilliant, undeniable light from heaven was fighting for them. Victory was a gift, not something they earned.
In verses 4 and 5, this old memory gets turned into a present-day declaration of faith. Picture a king sitting on his throne. He doesn't even need to pick up a sword. He just speaks a single command for victory. And that one word, it turns his people into this unstoppable force, like a powerful bull just pushing everything out of its way. That's the kind of power they remembered.
And that confidence just keeps building in verses 6 and 7. Imagine a lone archer. He takes his bow, the very symbol of his own strength, and he rejects it. He's making a huge statement here. This thing won't save me. He's trusting in something way bigger. And in his mind's eye, he sees his enemies running away, not from him, but from this terrifying, unseen power that's already won the battle. And this all builds to the climax of their memory in verse 8. This isn't some quiet, humble confidence. No, this is a citywide parade. Think streets just packed with people, singing, celebrating, boasting about their protector. This is the absolute peak. Everything is going perfectly. But that's where the record scratches. This single word signals one of the most jarring, abrupt shifts in the whole Bible. The music stops, the party's over, and everything is about to change. And just like that, we slam right into the present day. Those triumphant, happy memories now just serve as this bitter contrast to a brutal, confusing, and painful reality. This is what we're calling the Great Abandonment.
So in verses 9 and 10, everything is completely flipped upside down. Remember that unstoppable army? Now they're running for their lives. That brilliant light from heaven, their divine protector, it's gone. He no longer goes out with their armies. They feel totally cast off, shamed, and just left to die on the battlefield.
The picture just gets bleaker and bleaker in verses 11 and 12. First, imagine people being herded like helpless sheep, ready for slaughter. Then, see them in a slave market being sold off, but not for a high price, for practically nothing. They feel completely devalued, like they're totally disposable. And in verses 13 and 14, that shame goes public. Imagine walking through a foreign town where everyone whispers and points at you, scoffs at you. You've become a laughingstock to your neighbors, a sad story that people tell their kids, a joke that everyone shakes their head at. Verses 15 and 16 show us what this feels like on the inside. Picture a person who literally cannot lift their head. Their face is covered by dishonor, but it's like a real thing, like a heavy, suffocating cloak made of shame. It's always there, and they can't escape it. So what in the world do you do when your reality completely contradicts everything you believe? Well, here's the twist. The psalmist doesn't ditch his faith. Instead, he starts to make his case. He's basically arguing with a silent heaven. So in verses 17 and 18, the defense begins. Just picture someone dressed in rags, totally beaten down, but they're still clutching this tattered old scroll, their promise with God. And despite everything they declare, we haven't forgotten you. Our hearts haven't turned back. We've kept our end of the deal. Okay, real quick, to get the full impact of the next verse, we need to understand this phrase, the place of jackals. This isn't just some desert. In their world, this was a symbol for the most desolate, cursed, God-forsaken place you could imagine. A place of total ruin, haunted by wild animals. And that is exactly where verse 19 takes us. The psalmist says, "You have shattered us in that horrible place."
Imagine a ruined city, just rubble everywhere, and the only thing moving is the long, dark shadow of a vulture circling overhead. They feel like they're literally covered by the shadow of death.
Now, verses 20 through 22 feel like a courtroom speech. The psalmist is arguing, look, if we had messed up, if we had been unfaithful, wouldn't God know? He sees everything, even the secrets of the heart. And yet, even though they feel innocent, they're being treated like they're guilty, like sheep for the slaughter, killed all day long. Get this, for your sake. He's saying their suffering is happening because of their loyalty, not in spite of it.
The arguments are over, the case has been made, and all that's left is this raw, unfiltered, desperate scream for help. All the politeness is gone now. This is pure, gut-wrenching urgency.
I mean, verse 23 is just shocking. It's audacious. Picture someone running up to a sleeping giant and shaking him violently, just screaming, "Awake! Why are you sleeping? Get up!" It's a cry that comes from the absolute bottom of desperation.
And the plea just keeps coming in verse 24. Imagine you're desperately searching for someone's face in a crowd, and you realize they see you, but they're deliberately turning away, hiding from you. Why are you hiding your face, he asks. Why are you forgetting what's happening to us? It's the feeling of being personally and intentionally ignored when you need help the most. And finally, in verses 25 and 26, we get this last raw image. A person so broken, so defeated, that their soul is bowed to the dust. They're literally clinging to the dirt. And with the very last ounce of strength they have, they look up and whisper one final plea. Arise for our help. Redeem us for your mercy's sake. Not because we deserve it, but just because you are merciful.
And that's it. That's where the psalm ends. There's no answer, no sudden rescue mission. It just hangs there in the air, leaving us with this really profound and honestly unsettling question. When you face your own moments of silence, when all the promises feel a million miles away and help seems gone, what is the sound of your faith?